Hey guys, so I wanted to make this video just to be real with you and chat through some stuff I've been thinking about. For those of you that haven't watched my other videos, this might not really mean much to you, but for those of you who do follow me and watch my stuff, which I appreciate, I just wanted to chat with you. The last video I did talking about the Kaiser Seagull and essentially explaining why I wasn't going to review it after all when I thought I was, which I guess in a sense was a review, just a very short one. It really got me thinking, as I'm thinking through that thought process of why I was just going to send it back, and it kind of made me like, you know what, and I don't think I'm going to really be interested in talking about knives from that brand again. If I were to ever be offered review products from them, I would probably politely decline. And while I don't have a big channel, I have been doing this for 7 or 8 years, and at this point I am monetized, not making much money at it, but the channel is monetized. I think anyone in that position probably should be thinking in terms of, like, as this continues to grow, what content do I even want to make? And I can't help but, go back to my roots on this and say, this began as a hobby. Like, I was talking about flashlights and headphones and, like, gadgets that I'm into. And it largely was born of, like, I don't always have a friend to geek over that stuff with. And so this was, like, my outlet of finding other people who think that stuff is cool also and talking about it. And it's supposed to be fun. And it wouldn't stop me from giving a negative review on a product, especially if I've taken a review product where the exchange is I owe them a review video. If it's negative, then it's negative. And I've always made that be, in the cases where I have taken a product for review, I've always said, like, this has to be my own review. I give my honest feedback. I'm not going to be scripted. But in as much as I wanted to be ethical about it, there's also a part of me that's like, but for this to stay fun, you don't want to do too many videos that are critical of something, that are negative, you're disappointed in something. Like, at a certain point, you're like, no, I want to spend my time talking about stuff that's awesome, that I'm excited about. That's what started all of this. And so I obviously need to be more selective about which products I even buy and try, which review products, when I'm sent them, I even accept, to just raise the odds that, like, everything I'm talking about is exciting. There's a knife channel I've come upon semi-recently called New Again Knife Reviews. I'll put a link down there. I really like what that guy is doing on his channel. The things I appreciate it the most are he's just, like, really casual. He's like your buddy, just like you're hanging out with him and he's telling you about knives. And every time he talks about it, you just feel this genuine love of knives. And it's like he's saying, here's my collection, and I'm excited to tell you about why I love some of these knives and why they've meant something to me over the years. And all of his videos have that kind of tone to them. I love that, and it's even got me thinking, like, I'd like to be more that way. My channel started out talking about just gadgets I already owned and stuff, and along the way that kind of mixed into doing formal reviews. I'm not opposed to continuing to do reviews, but I don't want doing some of that to, like, make me lose the spirit of what I'm really trying to do with the channel, which is just, like, talk about stuff that excites me. And I think that's why, especially in my case with knives, if it's a company that you've tried several of their products and the majority of them have had quality control issues out the gate, you just end up saying, sure, I could probably send it back and exchange it, and maybe the replacement I got would be fine, and then I could, like, live happily ever after. But if this is also a company that this keeps being a consistent problem, is my daily use of their product, carrying it in my pocket or whatever, sort of an endorsement of them? If they have quality control issues and I know that, is it something I want to put my trust in that I use every day where I've had that problem? And we're so spoiled for choice of so many good options in basically any industry that I don't think anybody should, like, have to be in that position. And so that's, I guess, just as I've mulled this over, been a lesson for me in, as I go forward, like, the kind of content that I want to create and how I need to be careful not to put myself in a position where I have to do videos that I feel like I'm obligated to make because I've promised somebody, the audience or somebody else, that I would talk about it, and then I don't really want to talk about it. I've got a day job type of work where, like any job, there's aspects of it that you have to do stuff. I don't need a hobby like this to feel like that. Even when over the years I've taken review products and I've been upfront with the company, like, I'm unscripted, I'm going to say whatever I'm going to say. And even when they're cool with that, there still sometimes puts you in an awkward position where if you really don't like the product, you're like, yeah, but I got to limit how much I trash this product because I can't like really dump on it with this person about to watch it, which in some ways is positive because it's made me have to think of it in terms of like, just because I didn't connect with it, maybe somebody else would. And who is that target audience that this thing is really made for? And in what ways could I see where this hits the mark for maybe that person? And try to be more middle-minded about it. But like years ago, when I was blogging, when I had just the website before I did the YouTube channel here, I was talking about Fallout mods, and there was this one mod that had been often recommended that I tried, and I just did not like that mod. And I was like halfway through writing my whole essay about covering it and talking about why. And then I'm like reading what I'm saying, and I'm going on and on about this mod doesn't really give you any player agency, and the main antagonist that you end up having to do stuff for, the dialogue trees always feel contrived, like she has some kind of leverage over you that you have to comply, even though in reality she really doesn't actually have any leverage over you. And then it just ticked me off that it took me out of the experience and just did not feel role-playing-y at all. And I'm reading myself going through all this, and then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, here I am, instead of playing games and having a good time, I'm devoting hours of my life to talking about this mod that I did not like, that I arguably have already wasted several hours of my life playing, and then here I am spending more time talking about it. I just deleted my draft at that point and moved on. And I was thinking about that again today, and was like, yeah, I guess there's kind of a lesson in there here, you know, with the gadgets as well, of just, it's not that you could, you know, that I'm not going to be honest with people when I think that there's flaws or criticisms to something, but like there's a point too where you're like, but don't waste your time talking about something if it's all criticism, if you don't like it, if you don't have any interest in it, if you don't want to weigh in on it, don't feel like you need to like make videos just for the sake of making content. Don't take review products just because it's been a dry couple of weeks and you're like, I need something to talk about, it might as well be this. That's the wrong reason to try anything. Like, it should just stack the deck in your favor, you know, like talk about products that I'm actually excited about, that I would actually like to check out, that have enriched my life in some way and I'm excited to share with somebody else. And maybe that sounds obvious to say out loud, but I feel like every content creator probably struggles with that to varying degrees, and it's something that I've on and off felt over the years, and it's just really been on my mind today after, you know, thinking through that last video. Just figured I would share that with you guys. I'm curious what you make of that. That's just to give you kind of a heads up on my own journey of making the content on this channel that hopefully is providing some sort of value to everyone. And to me, this is the way that I can continue to do that. When I think of the videos that I had the most fun making, and in some cases were also the videos that got the most views on my channel, the video essay I did about Mass Effect and the DLC, Layer of the Shadow Broker, for instance. I think that's one of the highest viewed videos at this point that I've ever done. It was a lot of fun to make that video. I think it shows through. Like, I just played the game. This is a game series that I've been passionate about for years. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. I was excited to talk about it and really dig into it at that level, and I assume that probably came across in the care of the video. And frankly, it's the kind of content I would want to watch. I spend a lot of time on YouTube as a watcher myself, and you know, when I stop and think about like, well, who do I subscribe to, and like, what are the characteristics about them? Like I was saying earlier about New Again Knife Reviews, like, I like the positivity. I don't feel like he's pulling punches. I just feel like he's deliberate about, I only spend the time talking about knives and tools that I think are cool, and I don't bother reviewing it if it's going to be negative. Like, I'm not saying no one should do a negative review, but there's something to take from that. All right, I guess I could ramble on about this forever, and I think I've, for the most part, said what I was thinking about, so I'll leave you there, but appreciate your feedback if you want to throw it below, and appreciate you sticking with me and your continued watching. So hope you catch me in the next one.